Good evening and welcome to Bent TV. First up tonight, we continue our conversation with SensWide around their WorkingOUT LGBTI Job Support Program. In lip service, tonight's theme is family issues. And then in Deep Trans, Brenda Appleton tells us of her personal yet shared journey that got her to where she is today.
Hi, you're watching Bent TV. My name's Simon. I'm joined by three friends from an organisation called SensWide. Tristan, Mary and Rebecca. They all work as employment consultants on a programme called WorkingOUT, which is specifically for the LGBTI community. Perhaps you could just tell us a little bit more about it to start us off.
So we offer specialist employment services to the LGBTI community who might be facing barriers to accessing employment or education. And we've got 5 consultants in the team, and we all have backgrounds in community services, mental health, and employment services. We've been doing this for 2 years.
Cool. And roughly how many clients would you be working with at any given time?
Almost at this point in time, we're servicing around 89 participants at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And they're all from the LGBTI community?
Yes.
What are some of the challenges that the clients that present face?
I guess it would vary, obviously, depending on how they identified. For some of, our gay participants, it might be health-related, it might be mental health-related as well. Then I guess for some of our trans and gender diverse-related, that could be related to social stigma, and also, I guess, depending on whatever part of their transition they're going through, and I guess adapting their current skills to what they previously might have had, and just records that are surrounding that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could you share maybe some stories of some of the clients you've worked with successfully?
Yeah, definitely. So considering we work with quite a vast range of participants, we have been quite successful and within the gay community for people who have HIV status. We have partnerships with Victorian Aid Council. And we've been seeing a lot of people who initially thought after their diagnosis that they would never be able to return back to work actually contact us. So in some cases we've had people who've had an employment gap of 5 to 10 years, mm-hmm. And we've been quite successful in supporting them and building their skill set to then identify some suitable work that they're able to transition into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was it the Victorian AIDS Council or was it Living Positive?
With Living
Positive Victoria, yeah.
As well.
So we have a partnership with Living Positive Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
I guess some of the things that I've noticed working in the team has been social isolation. So a lot of my participants face issues with their mental health, and they might not have access to anyone in the community, so there's a bit of a disconnect for them. So getting back into work can be a bit of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I was successful. One of the most recent placements I had was a woman who identifies as a lesbian living with schizophrenia, and I was able to place her into employment at a local cafe, and she's improved quite significantly, mm-hmm. Seeing really positive results with her. So I think it does a lot for your mental health to be engaged in employment, regardless of mm-hmm. how you identify or what your barrier may be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important to be able to have access to work.
It's the same, I think, also for the trans community as well, because to have that kind of social acceptance gives them a sense of worth, and they remain quite isolated as well and keep it to themselves or just within the trans community. And I think it's really important for them to be able to experience and be part of the broader community and have that acceptance, whether that be through employment or education.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you have to spend time educating employers?
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the experiences you've had there?
I suppose the most common thing is working with some of our trans and gender diverse participants. I can recall a certain case where I provided quite a lot of support to an individual around the anxiety around entering into an interview panel, because in most cases this participant would walk in and then they would automatically be seen by the panel and then the panel would just be uncomfortable and move around and not know what to say and do, and this participant just thought, I would never have an opportunity to have a proper interview. So we implemented a strategy where I would actually make that initial contact with that employer, and then with their permission, disclose and give them a bit more information and education around trans and gender diverse, and talking about pronouns and the way in which that you communicate. So that next interview that participant went to was successful, and they ended up getting into work. So, and the confidence that participant had after that was just fantastic. So throughout that process, I had previous conversations with employers, and I suppose working from a person-centred approach, some employers were probably not as receptive or welcoming. So in most cases, I would definitely not be recommending anyone work within that type of environment. So I suppose we kind of sit back and gauge some employment environments and also employers to see whether some of our participants would be suitable working for them.
I think it's really important to be a bit strategic about where you're going to be potentially placing your participant. So I personally will utilise the Globe directory, or if I'm looking at a website, I'll look out for a diversity and inclusion policy. And I'm pretty spoiled in that I'm living in the north, so the north side is a bit of a hub for queer and trans people.
Better than the south, isn't it?
And
I'm from the south though, so I actually think it's fine.
So I can utilise a lot of my contacts in the north side to create employment opportunities as well.
Just not wanting to dwell on the negative, have you had any really adverse reactions when you've contacted an employer?
I had one incident where everything was going really well up until the point of the interview, and my participant wasn't successful. And I contacted the employer and asked why. And he said, she was great, but we've just picked someone else. And I was pressing, and I knew that it was because she identified as transgender.
The complications behind that as well can obviously happen once they're in employment. They might, present not as femininely as what they might once they've started to actually transition. So they might have been employed and then they start to transition. And the complexity behind that, obviously, of adjusting for the employer and the employees to, approach that in a respectable and professional manner can often be quite complicated.
So maybe a timing issue.
When dealing with employers, the biggest thing that I've come across is education, or just giving awareness. So that they can have an understanding, because in most cases it comes down to fear. So if you're able to give or relieve that anxiety, excuse me, from an employer, it definitely helps with that employment environment.
We're out of time, so very quickly, if anybody's interested in using your service, where should they go?
Yeah, definitely jump onto our website, www.senswide.com.au, or shoot us an email at info@senswide.com.au.
You can also find us on Facebook as well, so just check out WorkingOUT.
Thanks very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. You've been watching Bent TV. We'll see you next time.
Think before you speak.
I just got it. The last time I told you, when you told your mother and your mother told me that you told her the secret, I told you not to tell me.
Hi everyone, you're watching Lip Service on Bent TV, and tonight I'm joined by regular panellist Jess and some guest panellists Rach and Andy. We are here to help you solve your problems, and we will take the theme of family issues tonight. So the first question comes from Mei Ling. Mei Ling writes, my girlfriend's dad is a bit of a sleaze. It's not overt, but whenever we go to family things, he'll try to kiss me on the lips rather than the cheek, or slyly rest his hand on her backside. She's mentioned it to her girlfriend, but she won't have a bar of it, and she's a little embarrassed to raise it with her mum or dad in case they don't believe her. So what should Mei Ling do, Rachel?
God, just stop going to family events.
No.
Mei Ling. Just kidding. Yeah, oh God, well, maybe she should raise it. Like the...
Taser.
Yeah.
How about that?
Love it.
Yeah.
Or make a big example of it,
Yeah.
get your hand off my ass, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
make an issue of it. I don't know. It's not easy.
I think it's difficult. I've been in that situation where, an in-law uncle or someone like that tries to go the lips rather than the cheek. And it's actually tricky because it's
Lots
so
of people
sly,
do.
but it's sly, so you can't actually really prove it, or,
No.
they're just all well intentions. Oopsies.
That's a hard
So
one,
I
but-
think it's tricky, but I think that
It's hard with families, isn't
it's
it?
weird
You
if
don't wanna-
if her partners, won't have a bar of it though. That's a bit unfair.
Yeah.
She should feel that she can bring it
Well, I
up.
suppose it's her dad. She doesn't want to think ill of her dad,
No,
does she?
and you
So-
don't want every family situation to be difficult in the future. It's really tough.
It is tough one.
Maybe she should just go for the handshake.
Yeah, instead of just be like, hey, good to see you again.
Yeah. It's possible. Oh, there you go,
Make a big
Mailing. We're not
issue.
actually providing
Wide
much
berth.
help at all, are we?
Could she,
Nah, it's
could
difficult on
she-
mailing, sorry.
Could you let the mother be aware of it somehow? I don't know.
Well,
Because she might sort out.
Well, the
father.
mother's probably well aware he's a sleaze because she's been married to him for
Yeah,
a
true,
long time.
true.
So it's probably just...
She's going to be like the troublemaker girlfriend. Get that, oh, what's wrong with my dad? It's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
It's very tough.
Yeah, so we've really helped you there, mailing.
sorry.
Yes.
all right, so this one's from Felix. So he says, my partner and I got married in New Zealand last year. It was a great day, and like any good wedding, there were a few hookups between guests. One was my sister and my partner Ed's brother. We thought it would be an innocent, no strings attached thing, but they went on to have a short romance which ended with one cheating on the other. Now we feel that we're getting dragged into a family nightmare. What's the best way to handle this and keep our hands clean? Now, Simon, you're actually a celebrant when you wear another hat. So what do you think? I mean, you must go to a lot of weddings and...
Yeah, and I hook up quite regularly.
Yeah,
with
no, I was going to say,
everybody there.
you see a lot of hookups?
And then cheat on them
that's
and
right.
try and drag the family into it.
Best man, all
That's
that.
why I applied.
Father of the bride.
Yeah. Can get a little complex. Oh, this just let's not get into it. Really, to be honest, I'd be saying it's
between you guys.
It's between them. It's happened over water under the bridge.
You could possibly
Get on with
speak to them both and say, look, you're important to us, you matter to us.
Yeah.
Please try and get through this and be civil. You're going to see each other in the future. You don't want, any I'm not going if she's going sort of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
this is the
Or
thing.
to stop inviting one over the other. Just, you're adults, deal with it.
Yeah.
We love you both. We're going to invite
Sort
you to
it out.
everything. Sort it out.
Yeah.
think you're right.
It's not their fault. It's not
No.
their.
Yeah, don't get involved. And also,
happens,
rude. We got married and you are now making this big deal about yourselves.
Why did they break up? Did she say?
Cheating.
Did they say?
One cheated on the other.
Oh, okay.
So,
It's never pleasant. But,
Messy, but
it
Messy.
happens.
I think that some morals in this family are lacking.
Oh,
sweetheart.
Throw it out there to Andy. Some of us don't agree with that.
We need more morals in society.
let's move on.
All right, on that note, let's move on. And this is Simone, not Simon. Simone wrote in, my sister Kate, also my best friend, has recently started seeing this awful homophobic guy. He's rude, egotistical, and honestly don't know what she sees in him. We don't see each other as much as we used to, and I feel so sad that we're moving apart. Should I bring it up with her?
Oh, that's sad.
What do you think, Jess?
Well, I think, she has to bring it up with her, right? But, yeah, that's just really sad. When you're a sibling or a really great friend is seeing someone that's awful, I mean, what can you do? What do you reckon, Andy?
Don't know. I think family's important, so you don't want to cut it off.
You can't be sort of black and white about it.
No, so I think you have to try and put up with it. You'll probably see them less. I think you should say something, but I think you just have to try and cope and keep going and have the sister be aware that you'll still care about her if the whole relationship falls in a heap, which it probably will from the sound of it. I think you just have to be understanding and try and deal with it.
Yeah, because that's your job as a sister, isn't it? To support your sister in her choices.
Yeah.
It might not be what you choose, but that's not your choice. And you've just got to be there and support. And sometimes bringing up your true feelings can cause a bigger rift because it's like, oh, why don't you like him? And drawing on all his negative points, but you don't see this or that, and you're just trying to split us up or something like that. And then all of a sudden, you've made this issue yourself. So
He's a homophobic, egotistical bastard, but he's really nice to old people.
That's
well, that's
people like
her
that.
point of view
Yeah.
too. Like she might not see that because maybe he's not like that around her, or I don't know. So is Sister Kate gay? Is that why she got an issue with it, or she just got
Probably.
an issue with anyone who's homophobic? Because people like that exist, unfortunately, in the
Totally.
world. And maybe she could be take the role of the educator.
Yeah,
Every time
that's
he's
true.
being homophobic or whatever, it's like put him in his place, or say something, or I don't know. It's just,
Or organise some girls' weekends away and spend good time with the sister and
Bring him along.
No, don't bring him
girls
along.
only.
Girls only. Yeah.
What about bringing him and the sleazy dad? And we'll all go away together.
Yeah.
How's that?
Or send them off together.
wedding ceremony.
Good. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have time for one very quick one. This is from Peter, a very close-knit Greek family. They accept me and his boyfriend, but the boyfriend's not entirely comfortable with this situation. How should he become more accustomed to the family embracing him?
Wow, it's great the family are embracing him.
Yeah.
I think time is the thing, and just and the family, maybe it's probably taken them a while to get where they are, and I think he just needs to the boyfriend needs to go on the journey and be open and just give it time.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be that he doesn't have a super close family himself, so he's a bit uncomfortable with that kind of
The
relationship.
hugs and the
Yeah.
Quick response, Rach?
Oh, I just
Almost.
agree with everyone else.
Yep.
I don't have anything else to say.
Nothing else to say.
No, nothing.
You're out.
I'm done.
You're dry. You're done. On that note, we shall say good night. Thanks for watching Lip Service. You've been watching Bent TV.
Thank you for staying with Bent TV. Please visit our website, Twitter, YouTube channel and Facebook to find the different ways you can support Bent TV, provide feedback and become involved in supporting Bent TV. Back after this break.
Welcome to Bent TV. I'm Andy McNamara. Tonight I'm speaking to Brenda Appleton. And Brenda, I want to ask you a bit about your life, how you have journeyed to become a trans elder in Melbourne's community. Welcome to Bent TV.
Thanks, Andy. Delighted to be here.
Good. Let's start at the very beginning. Can you tell me? I don't want to jump to assumptions, but I get the feeling you're a little bit older than Taylor Swift or Beyonce or anything. Can you tell me about the world you were born into?
I was born into a very macho world.
Mm-hmm.
My father was ex-boxer, ex-football player, ex-army. And I was born in 1950. So growing up through the 50s and 60s, we didn't have the internet, didn't have access to computers. So from a young age, probably about 6 or 7, I knew that I was struggling, but I didn't have anywhere to discuss that.
No, or even the words to sort of...
Well, certainly not the vocabulary to explain it.
comprehend it, yeah.
But when I was wanting to talk about it at home, it was shut down, and so it made it rather difficult. And in my case, was made more difficult because I went to a boys' school, and I was very pleased. I left school early, and I was very pleased when my time at school was over. I suffered a fair bit of bullying and harassment, and it wasn't a particularly pleasant time of my life.
Did you? What were your first experiences of other trans people in the world, either personal or famous, or?
Came much later in life. So I guess like a lot of trans people, I grew up feeling that living as a male wasn't right for me, but I had nowhere to take it. And I wasn't able to explore it. I wasn't aware of trans at that stage. And like a lot of trans, I then thought, well, if I study hard, work hard, get married, have kids, then those concerns and doubts would go away.
Right.
And I'd just get on with life.
Like gay people probably of a generation earlier. Yep.
And for a period of time I could do that, but then increasingly it was much more difficult. So in response to your earlier question, when did I become aware of other trans, I guess I read about Jan Morris, and I eventually did a lot of reading of biographies of trans people. and started to understand just what was possible.
And how old were you when you were, at this point, you were reading about other trans people?
I guess I was in my 30s by then. And my life went up and down a little bit in terms of trying to conceal the secret that I had. It meant that I never lost control. I ensured that I didn't have a lot of close friends. I was fortunate that I met my soulmate early on and we got married. It wasn't discussed with Janice at that stage.
Your wife, yes.
My wife. But the problems that I had were always there and evident to me.
Right. Now, this is getting personal, I guess. How did you have that discussion with your wife? Like, I'm sure the vocab probably still wasn't there at that point, given where the world was. It must have been a very challenging...
So it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I then discussed it with Janice. I started having counselling, and I started going to Seahorse, and...
Which is a transgender support group in Melbourne, yes?
Yes. And I started to, I guess, explore what it would mean for me to truly be myself, rather than what I was feeling, which was acting the role that was expected of me.
Wow.
And as for so many, it's a scary decision because you don't know at that point whether you'll lose your job, lose your family, lose contact with your children. We have 2 children. And for so many trans people, they do lose their job and they lose contact with their family.
Wow.
So they face, at a time when they desperately need support, they face it alone, and that makes it very scary.
And obviously, like many things, it's a secret that once it's out, you can't bring it back in, so it's incredibly scary, I'm sure.
It is. And for a trans woman, so someone like myself, assigned male at birth, to transition, I was working in the corporate world. I had 35 years working in the corporate world, mostly multinationals. And to transition at work, I was a director of the company, so reasonably high profile.
Wow.
And yeah, you very much feel you're being inspected and observed all the time. You really are on display.
How did your wife cope with your true nature, I guess?
My true self. Not easily. It wasn't something that she was aware of before it was first raised. And eventually Janice needed to have counselling for herself. And I've got 2 adult children now in their mid-late 30s, and they needed counselling as well. We don't pretend that it's an easy journey, and it's a journey for everyone, not just the person who is transitioning. Although I don't think of it as a transition, I think of it as an alignment. I was always the same on the inside, and I aligned my exterior, my presentation, to better represent the way I felt on the inside.
Wow, and maybe just to finish up, it's great that you and your wife are still married and still together, so it's great there's a happy end to this journey sometimes.
Yes, no, we celebrated 43 years of marriage last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And no, it wasn't easy. To start with, it was difficult to celebrate wedding anniversaries after I transitioned. So we created a new day which we called Friendship Day. And we celebrated that each year rather than our wedding anniversary because it was not easy in the early days. And now we're at the fortunate stage where we celebrate both Friendship Day and our wedding anniversary.
Wonderful.
And we have one of the few legal same-sex marriages in Australia, which we're quite proud about.
Good on you. Brenda, thanks so much for chatting to us.
You're welcome.
You're watching Bent TV. I'm Andy McNamara and we're chatting to Brenda Appleton.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for watching. My name is Gavin Henderson. Please visit our website, YouTube channel, Facebook to keep in contact and support Bent TV. Bye.